Bob Shambora from the United States, visiting South Africa. What brings you to our shores?
A whole number of things. There's a number of different technologies and different solutions that my company has come across, and we want to bring them here and make South Africa a better place.
Let's move on to one of the factors that brings you to South Africa, and that is thorium. Why is thorium a better replacement for uranium?
A number of reasons. It's safer. You can actually have thorium reactors that are smaller, easier to build. They can be decentralized. Thorium in its basic state comes in the form of thorium-232, which actually can be shipped around in a regular container. It's not radioactive. It's not prone to the same issues of proliferation. There's just a number of issues, and there's a lot of thorium.
So what you're actually saying is cheaper and safer. Is that what you're really trying to say?
It's cheaper and safer.
Is it true that a marble-sized piece of thorium could run a whole household for the rest of its life?
Oh, probably more so. There's a technology called pebble bed technology, where you can actually take the thorium, put them in small little beads, and you put the small beads into a ball, and you run the balls through a container like a giant Pez dispenser.
Yeah.
And a very small amount of thorium can power,
But then we were looking at pebble beds. In fact, we were looking at putting one next to Coburg in Cape Town. Mm-hmm. Why did then the South African government write that off and disregard it, and now gone back to uranium and are talking to the Russians, the Chinese, and the French? Why?
I think two reasons. From what I've been able to glean, the pebble bed technology wasn't necessarily just using thorium, it was using uranium and plutonium as well, and there is a use for that. But also the thorium reactor technology, I don't think had come of age yet, and I think now the technology is there, it would work and work well. For South Africa, it's actually perfect. You have plenty of thorium. You have an enormous power need right now.
Let me stop you there.
Sure.
You're saying we have plenty of thorium. And how do we have plenty of thorium? Because most everybody's never heard of the word thorium.
Thorium is not something in the past you've gone and looked for.
Is it here in South Africa?
Plenty.
And is it in every other country in the world?
I'm not sure if it's in every other country, probably not. There's a lot in India, there's a lot in China, there's a lot in Australia, but I think South Africa is one of the top 4 or 5. And for a country of the population size of South Africa, there's more than South Africa would need, so it actually could be a good export item. The thorium reactor technology and the pebble bed reactor technology has advanced enough where I think now the time is right, and I think that is the future.
Do you think nobody has proposed this in a proper way?
That's entirely possible. Entirely possible.
If you were speaking now to the minister, what would you be saying to her?
I'd be telling her that if you could put together all the pieces, which is the thorium technology, the pebble bed nuclear reactor technology, the group of scientists that are most versed in this technology, which there aren't a lot of, and then not only that, but your nuclear scientists in general, there are not as many around as there used to be, at least not ones that could build a nuclear power plant. You put that right team together, you could have an advanced nuclear pebble bed reactor technology using thorium, and that would be the future.
Is it true that it's quicker to build a thorium station, far quicker than a uranium station?
They're far quicker because they're smaller, but also since it's not as dangerous, you do not have all these fail-safe mechanisms. You don't have to be near the water. You don't have to have a water pumping station. You don't have to have all these emergency apparatus that go into effect, because the pebble bed reactor technology using thorium is already in its base state. So if there's an emergency, it just basically shuts down. A new reactor for, say, uranium-235, 238, you're going to be spending billions of dollars to build one reactor. For a thorium reactor, you could spend $50 to $100 million, see if you like it, and if you do, then you build more. And you can put them in South Africa. You could put one in every territory, one in every province, and have it decentralized, as opposed to having to have a whole bunch of big ones near the water. My firm has actually put together a white paper on thorium technology for pebble bed nuclear reactors, specifically for South Africa. And I happen to think South Africa is actually the perfect country to start. You have the thorium, you have the will, you have the need, Okay, you've got all the things. You've got enough of an infrastructure to make it work. You're not an enormous population like Europe or the United States. It's actually the perfect place to start.
Okay, there's one factor you missed. We don't have the expertise.
Right.
Where's that going to come from?
I think you had to bring that in.
Where from?
Wherever it needs to come from, whether it's Germany, Japan, the United States. We have people on our team that can build nuclear reactors. But there's a network. The number of nuclear scientists that have built power plants, there's not a lot of them. It's a very close-knit family, and it's global. So you start talking about thorium and the need for a new reactor, they'll find their own network, and you'll get who you need.
Okay, I'm not being rude to them, but the greenies jump up and down the minute you mention anything to do with nuclear.
Mm-hmm.
Does this allay the fears of the greenies?
I think it should. Nuclear power, in general, people have built it for a long time. It's still one of the safest forms of power, and it's efficient, and it's, better than almost nearly half the world's power is nuclear. But they are right about one thing, and there is an enormous amount of nuclear waste. The average person doesn't understand when you are using plutonium or uranium fuel rods, they're only hot enough for the first 14 to 16% of their life cycle, and then they're no longer able to be used in your conventional reactor technologies. They have to be removed, taken offline, and cooled forever. And that nuclear waste is going to last for hundreds of thousands of millions of years. Pebble bed nuclear reactor technology and thorium technology, you're not going to have that much waste. As a matter of fact, if you have the right pebble bed nuclear reactor technology using thorium, you would actually be able to go and take all of the spent cesium, strontium, uranium, and use it. It is the biggest waste to energy story in the history of man.